It's Tuesday, August the 15th, and this is your Barbados Today evening news update. So glad you could join us. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Topping the news at this hour, Barbados and the rest of the Caribbean can best tackle increasing gang violence and the illegal gun and drug trade by boosting their collaboration. So says Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite. He told this morning's opening ceremony of the Carry Secure Regional Workshop at the Radisson Aquatica that it's critical that countries exchange accurate, relevant data on crime to devise effective strategies to stamp out the scourge.
Data emergent from the recent gang study by the RSS, which also suggested that, in fact, almost all of the countries, if memory serves me correctly, that were shown earlier, that we all have somewhat of a gang problem. And the data that I saw from this study suggested it's all linked to family issues, illiteracy among many of our youth, basic issues that are prevalent across the region. But what you're doing over the next couple of days is, of course, setting a framework so that we can have evidence-based interventions going forward. What I do want you in your deliberations to do is also do an analysis of what exactly has been working in various territories. You heard about initiatives in Guyana and Suriname. So what we need to do is to work. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. What we need to do is to ascertain what exactly works and find some way within your framework to capture this information so that can be more easily transmitted across the region. The issue of crime, the issue of youth violence is not a Barbados issue, as you know. It's not a Trinidad issue. It's actually a regional issue. And therefore, we need your collective experiences, and we need your collective energies to ensure that once this program is launched across the region, that we have the best data available so that we can tackle this serious issue of youth violence in their communities.
Meanwhile, amid the growing public calls for tougher penalties to combat the surge in crime in Barbados, the AG is touting an alternative approach. He argues that long jail terms will not necessarily solve the worrying crime situation among young people and urges Barbadians to change their mindset.
In Barbados, we have a feeling that once someone commits a crime, he should be incarcerated. So I am one who am a proponent of second chances. So. But we need to be able to demonstrate to our public that, in fact, that these initiatives that we're taking to move our young people away from crime does not mean that we're being soft on crime. There is a time and there's a place for serious punishment. But there are also times when intervention, in particular where our youth are involved, where the softer skills are required. Because to me, and I'm sure to many of you, it makes no sense, or it makes little sense, incarcerating a 19-year-old, for example, for 5 years. He goes into the prison system. He goes into the prison system with challenges, either low morale, poor education, family difficulties, the usual gamut of challenges. And he comes back up from prison with the same challenges and goes back into his community with the same challenges. And then we question why he ends back up in the prison system.
The AG's comments come on the heels of last month's mass shooting at the Spring Garden Highway, which claimed the life of 20-year-old Tarid Jr. Rock and left 18 people injured. Last Friday, a man discharged a firearm in Fairchild Street, the city, injuring 2 people. In other news this Tuesday, an international partner tells Barbados it's time to reopen discussions on the establishment of a waste-to-energy project. Head of the EU delegation to Barbados and the OECS, Ambassador Danielle Tramsier, today made the call as she announced that the EU was more than willing to provide the funding. It was just a year ago that government was forced to dump the controversial $700 million Cahill gasification project that was to be based at Vaucluse in St. Thomas amid much public pressure. But Ambassador Tramsier told a signing ceremony at government headquarters for the public sector smart energy program that Barbados and the rest of the region have to tackle the issue of waste management, and the EU is ready to help.
Waste in an island is and recycling. By the way, recycling could imply also generation of energy. Definitely, the management of waste is a job-creating opportunity. You know, waste can be a big business too. So I think it is high time for us to start talking about what we want to do about waste disposal, recycling, protection of the oceans, on our resources. And we are a little late, but I think that we have some room. We would like to start a conversation, not only with Barbados, but also other Caribbean countries, and think about the possibility of a regional program. So I'm just opening a door for the future. I hope somebody will come.
Caribbean cuisine is big business, but Barbados and the rest of the region must do more to protect the authenticity of the product. Executive Chef Peter Eady is pleased that the growing interest in Caribbean food, but he raised concern that the international media are not telling the true story about the preparation of local dishes.
Why I'm happy that this conference is happening is because I've seen too much now, when you look at international TV, bastardization of our culinary culture. It is now the hot thing. I think Mrs. Fox mentioned it, or one of the ladies at the top end mentioned it. Caribbean cooking is a hot thing now. It's getting really hot around the world, but it is not represented correctly. You watch this program on television, and then we as Caribbean people cringe because we see things like cornmeal cuckoo being made with whole corn and half cooked okras cut in half, and the presenters saying things like, "Oh, this is how they do it in Barbados," and I'm like, "Which Barbados? This is the one I'm from." I actually saw that on one of the international food networks.
Chef Eady voiced his concern as he launched this year's Caribbean Junior Culinary Conference and the competition, scheduled to take place between August the 21st and 25th. This year's event will also see the launch of the Caribbean Culinary Alliance, which, among other things, will produce indigenous teaching materials for the region's next generation of chefs.
We will have an organization that can provide all of those techniques and all that training that you can apply now to each of your islands to kind of make authentic your cuisine. Because if you can't describe it and write it down, define it somehow, then you're in trouble. So all the alliance we're doing as well is helping you to be able to write down and to identify and to explain what you are doing in your place. It's not about teaching you to cook differently, because that's not what it is. It is about getting our culture that is already there, already exists, and then making it more formal, putting it in books. So when we go into our classrooms now, instead of using European books and American books and French books, those kind of things, we can have all the same techniques, the correct techniques, but applied to all local fruits and vegetables. So when you're talking about julienne potatoes, it's no longer Irish potatoes or we call English potatoes. It'd be probably sweet potatoes or even breadfruit or yam. So the books will have recipes that will apply, all the ingredients used will be local and Caribbean. And then, so when our students go out there and we eventually, I'm sure we'll get these books, they'll be the books that they'll be using in the culinary institutes across the Caribbean, then they can be familiar with everything they're using.
In sports now, Barbados picked up their second victory in the CONCACAF Under-15 Championships this morning with a 2-0 win over Puerto Rico to sit on top of Group E standings. The Young Tridents cruised to a similar win in the tournament's opener versus Guadeloupe yesterday. Today's second half strikes from Thierry Gale and substitute Nazario Adamson were enough to hold off their North American opponents. The victory has placed Barbados with 6 points at the top of their group, with 2 games left in the current stage.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Morning, Miss Oya.
Morning. You again. So you're washing cars now? Well, I can't keep up with you at all.
Yes, girl. You know they're going provision to selling slow. And I don't sell nation newspapers at all because them don't sell. So I washing cars now. I like to get up before 8:30 because I can't take the hot sun. You want the car wash?
No, not today. It clean.
But you're going in very early though?
Yeah, I just going early so I can read the Barbados today online before work starts.
Right. But you can still let me clean the vendor for the $2. At least it's still cheaper than the nation newspaper.
All right.
I got a special boo here that I got it shiny. Thank you. Enjoy your day here.
You too.
All right. What that paper is? She can see clearly when the dirt is gone.
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
In regional developments now, Venezuelans may soon have to secure a visa to visit St. Lucia. The Alan Chastanet administration announced yesterday that it's mulling over imposing visa restrictions on Venezuelans in light of ongoing turmoil in that Spanish-speaking Caribbean country. Prime Minister Chastanet is concerned that the unrest poses a security threat, pointing to an increase in the trafficking of arms and drugs. He said the Ministry of Immigration is now preparing a document for Cabinet, and barring any impediments, government will impose the restrictions. And on the international scene, an urgent appeal for help as the death toll mounts in Sierra Leone following widespread flooding which triggered massive landslides. More than 400 people have been killed and hundreds more are missing in the district of Regent Freetown. The country's President Ernest Koroma says they are overwhelmed by the disaster.
I'm at the Central Morgue in Freetown at the Connaught Hospital. I've just been inside there and there are a lot of corpses strewn all over the place, some of them limbless. The head of the mortuary says they are completely overstretched, and that is not all. As they were cleaning up the place, trying to sort the corpses out, more corpses are being brought in from different parts of the city. This is a disaster which, even by the reckoning of the head of this mortuary, who's been doing this for decades, is absolutely unprecedented. He says it compares to nothing with the Ebola virus outbreak. It does not compare to the Civil War. He says he has never seen anything like this. Corpses piled up just behind this wall at the morgue. The mortuary itself is overfull. They've had to bring out the corpses there, and they are being sorted right now.
And that's news and sports. But for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We are also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Emmanuel Joseph. Have a fantastic evening.